Devon wants Lily to do 20 years, and Summer tries to pull a fast one on Jack and Phyllis. Stay tuned for this week's Restless Wrap.
You're tuned in to AFTERBUZZ TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey everyone, I'm Rachel Goodman. I'm here for another week of Restless Wrap. After Hillary's death and all the trauma associated with that, we had 1 week where things seemed to, I don't want to say calm down, but the action just wasn't as cram-packed this week, but we still have a lot to talk about, especially with Devon and everything going on with Lily. So I think we should start with that. But first, let me give a shout out to everyone that we have in the chat right now. We have Hubby Joe, Kimmy Sylvester, and Simone Francois, who are joining us live today. And we had some comments on last week's show. So I just want to give a shout out to Jackie Simpson. Her comment was, "Where were the big church first lady hats? Hillary deserved that. That drama always happens at the repast after the liquor gets served." So we also have Nakisha Jones. Her comment is, "It was emotional. Hillary's funeral and this week's scenes. So much drama, and Devon isn't going to just forgive Lily. It's too early for that. Liking Mariah taking over for GC Buzz because of Hillary. Hopefully it'll continue." And just to kind of go off of what Nakisha said too, with Devon not being able to forgive Lily, it seems Jack actually had one of the best lines of the week with that when he was talking to Kane, telling Kane to just give Devon some time. But unfortunately, with the arraignment and the hearing, Lily doesn't have that much time to allow for his forgiveness. We also have Malcolm Adderley, who says, "I wish it was a double funeral and Lily Violet was run over." So, on that note, let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about everything going on with Devon. If you're listening live, or if you aren't listening live and you want to leave a comment on this discussion, keep it going. Please, I welcome your thoughts. I'm always going to check them, and then I will read them on the next show. If you're participating live, I will read your comments live, obviously. But right now, we're talking about Devon, and just want to know, how long do you think, not how long, because you can't really put a time limit on it, but do you think that considering the circumstances, considering how Devon is grieving, do you think that his actions and his everything that he's saying to Lily is appropriate? That's the first question. The second question is, Lily brought up a really good point when she was talking to Kane, and she said, "Kane, if you were in Devon's position, wouldn't you be doing the same exact thing?" And I want to get your take on that too. So if you have any comments on either of those questions, please feel free to share. Let's go ahead and get started talking about everything that happened this week with Devon. So we start off the week. Lily actually wants to turn herself in, and it seemed like she genuinely felt guilty. She couldn't sleep. They showed a scene with her and Kane where she's obviously really torn up, not just because of Hillary and the fact that she was the one behind the wheel, but also because of the fact that this is going to tear her family apart if she is convicted. And well, even before she knows what the actual, charges could be, she's just really torn up about the whole situation and what it's going to do to her relationship with Devon. This whole week, she spent trying to fix things between him and her, and he just would not have it. So Kane tries to make Lily promise that she's not going to turn herself in, that it is going to tear the family apart, but Lily kind of reminds him, well, Devon said he's going to do it anyway if I don't. So she ends up, Kane tries one more time to get through to Shauna, which was really weird. Now, granted, it's typical Kane, so it didn't seem uncharacteristic of him to do this, but it just seemed really weird that he would go and try to talk to a minor and try to convince her not to, I guess, testify if there is some kind of court case where she would be called upon to do this. And he tries not only with the argument that it's going to hurt Lily and his family, but Kane tries to position it like, "Oh, Shauna, it's going to hurt your future because you're going to seem unreliable." So Kane, I don't even know who would have bought into that. Shauna obviously didn't. Devon shows up, pushes Kane away, and that's not the first time he shows up at the house, but pushes Kane away, and that's that. But it was just a really awkward situation where I felt like Kane shouldn't have been there, especially if Devon wasn't present. It just was very uncomfortable for me to watch that, even though Kane, obviously his intentions were to try to get Shauna to be on their side, but I don't know why he thought that was going to work. But we've seen Kane do some stupid things, so I'm not surprised. Simone says, Devon is in grief, rage, spiraling right now, but if he can forgive Neil for almost murdering and kidnapping Hillary, he can forgive Lily. And they did make a good point, too, that Devon was actually in a similar circumstance when he drove and was full of rage going after Hillary, and he ended up really hurting himself. So they even tried to say, Devon, you should understand, you have been in Lily's shoes, basically. I mean, sounds like I wasn't watching the show when Devon did this, but it sounds like Devon actually had more rage than Lily when she was driving. So kind of does sound hypocritical. But that being said, Devon is going through a lot. I just wish, I'll make this comment, I know I made it last week. What I really wish is that instead of focusing it on this, that they had given it even, a week or two where we just saw Devon processing all of this. Because I get it, this anger is part of the grief, but it didn't have to be Lily right now. It could have been even Nate. He tried to blame Nate at first. It's like, obviously in his grief, he just has to blame somebody, but I wish that it would have been, like, I feel like this is taking up the court case, and what's happening with Lily is taking away from the emotions that I wish I could have seen Devon going through. And to me, that's that reaction time, and just, this is just, it still could have been soapy, even if they had given it a little more time to breathe and given him more time to process. Because I'm at a point where when they were showing the actual death of Hillary, it was such a teary week, and it was hard to watch, and it was so emotional, and it was really well done. Once she passed and we got on to the new week where suddenly Devon, it came out that Lily was the one, that blew the red light, and Devon started putting blame on her. It's taking away, for me, it's taking away the emotion that I felt while Hillary was actually dying and that connection she shared with Devon. I wish I could have had a little more of that and that kind of grieving until he was maybe a little bit further along, and then bring in a little more drama and keep it going. So I feel like it just jumped too fast and we didn't have enough breathing. I do love that they had that scene. This is a little bit later in the week. I love, though, they did have the scene where a group of her fans maybe, or one of her fans sent her babies, like they sent her clothing, they sent her the stuffed animal, the elephant. That was a really touching moment. I wish, as a fan, I would have wanted more of that first and less of the, drama with the court case. I'm not saying that couldn't have happened, but I feel like we needed more of the touching moments first to really, process this traumatic moment and then jump into something else. Now, I get it. Devon is acting this way because he is grieving, and maybe it's part of the process. Maybe that's what they're trying to show on the show. Show on the show. I said that. But I still think they could have given it a little more breathing room. Just because they gave it a week or two wouldn't have meant that he wouldn't have been, that he still wouldn't have been grieving. And then they could have shown the anger and this, I don't want to say manic, but just they could have shown more of this. I need to find someone to blame. But I feel like what they skipped in the grieving process was the depression. I mean, obviously he's still depressed and he's sad, but they should have they should have shown more of, that moment when you find out something life-changingly horrible happens to you and you just kind of sit with it for a little bit and you just can't handle it and you don't know what to make of it. That is the process. That's the part of the process I think we missed with Devon. If anyone is in the chat and agrees or disagrees, I'd love to hear your comments. If you're not in the chat and you're watching this after the fact, let me know what you think about that. You are more than welcome to disagree with me, but I'd love to get your thoughts on that. We have a couple of comments in the chat. Simone, I agree. It's just like the JT story. This has gone from being about Devon's loss to about the court case. Exactly. That's exactly how I feel too, because same thing with the with Victoria and the abusive relationship. That was another situation that I felt wasn't handled the right way. They handled the JT storyline with Victoria while it was happening, while she was dealing with this abusive relationship, I thought was handled really well. And then it was very touching when they had the girls' night and they were sitting around discussing it and discussing and going through all the emotions that someone feels when they are in that relationship. All of that I thought was handled perfectly. And it was so touching, and it really hit an emotional spot for me, because it felt so genuine. They went from that to, oh, we need to hide the body. Oh, we're all like, we're all guilty here. We killed a man. It went from genuine and touching and, oh, I can really get behind the storyline, to suddenly, oh no, what is this? And that's the same thing. Like, I understand it's a soap and they have to keep things dramatic and they have to keep things moving. All I'm saying is that they could have, same thing with Devon and Hillary as with JT and Victoria and that storyline, both of them, they could have given a week or two at least, to maybe a week or two, maybe not at least, but like a week or two, just to show how these people genuinely process what they're going through. Because it isn't just that it's realistic, but I feel like it would hit more of a spot with people, and it would still be just as dramatic, and it's still in a different way. It's still action, but it's just in a very, you would just get to kind of see the process of them letting go a little bit more, and how you react in your everyday life after you've been through something so dramatic, or not dramatic, traumatic. We'll go with that word instead. We have a couple other comments. Tiffany, aka Clex Ambers, is here. She says, I really do like, though, how Mariah has been there to comfort him. I genuinely love their friendship. Yeah, and that was nice. I loved Mariah and Devon, two exes who obviously can get past the fact that they dated, and now they are there for each other. And it seems like a genuine friendship. And obviously, Mariah, as someone who's dated Devon, she knows him very well. So it just feels like if anyone can help him right now, it might be Mariah. So I'd love to see more conversations between the two of them. Xambers also says, here's something. I mean, I didn't really watch this week, so it might have been covered. But here's a question. Is Kane being held accountable for his part in this, or Charlie? Oh, for actually not admitting what was happening at first and not telling Lily. Okay, so this week it came up a lot. Devon is not happy with Kane. He's obviously giving him the cold shoulder too, but he's giving Lily the brunt of all of it. And really, if we're gonna look at who to point the blame at in terms of, we didn't tell Devon at first, you could kind of look at it like, yeah, Kane's the one. At the very least, he should have told Lily, even if Lily didn't want to go to Devon yet, or they decided together they weren't going to do it. That's another question for a different discussion. But Kane should have at least told Lily as his spouse. So, all right, we have Andre Lawrence is here. Hey, Andre. Hubby Joe says the JT storyline is being dragged out too much. Hopefully the Devon Lily storyline does not drag out. Yeah. So getting back to what happened this week with Devon and Lily then. So Lily and Kane, they end up talking to Michael. And it was such a brief conversation. To me, that should have gone on a little bit more, so Michael could have explained as their lawyer what they could have been facing. But no, they just have a really quick conversation with him, and then Paul comes in. And then Lily ends up admitting the truth that she ran the red light, but then she uses, after Michael warns her not to come to conclusions, she says, I'm the reason that Hillary is dead, and she just kind of fills in the blank when she should have just said the facts, just like Michael said. Follow your lawyer's advice. He didn't give you much. Follow what he tells you. And Michael stops her after she's talking like this in front of Paul, but it's kind of too late. And this is the point where, okay, I don't understand why Lily would have thought that all she would get is a license suspension for running a red light that ended up causing the death of an unborn baby and a woman. That's just, to me, how could you have thought that's all it was going to be, was just a license suspension? They end up telling her it could potentially be, so it would be considered, if the judge chose to do this, could potentially be 2 counts of homicide, and it would be up to 20 years of jail time. So suddenly it's gone from, okay, I'm going to turn myself in. What's the worst that can happen? I'm going to get my license suspended? No. Okay, so this is where I thought Lily was kind of acting not the brightest in the situation, because, okay, I understand. She did the right thing. She went and she told Michael and then told Paul, or she told Paul anyway, after kind of sort of speaking to Michael. She should have told Michael the full story first and then had him kind of coach her through what could happen. That's number one, instead of just going in blindly and talking to Paul. Number two, even though Lily's not a lawyer and Kane's not a lawyer, they should maybe follow the example of their daughter Maddie, when she goes and she's able to Google and find out when her mom's, I think it was the hearing that, it could have been the arraignment, I'm not sure which one, but Maddie was able to Google it after she found out Lily was going to go turn herself in. I'm saying Kane and Lily should have Googled what the laws were, even if they didn't get an exact, like, oh, this could happen here if you do this. Even if they couldn't find the law exactly, they should have looked up the Wisconsin driving laws and seen what could potentially happen if you were at fault and 2 people died in your car. So that was on them for not doing their research and not being prepared for the meeting, in my opinion, number one. Number two, the fact that they go in and they didn't utilize Michael the way they should have. So 2 errors on their part that left them very uneducated and ill-prepared for that meeting with Paul. So, well, at least Lily's meeting with Paul. So after they find out all this, Devon and Lily kind of go back and forth. Devon is actually really happy. He feels that it's justice, and he makes it very obvious to Lily that he doesn't want her anywhere around him. He ends up he actually says, Lily, you need to leave. I'm firing you. Neil steps in. He's trying to stop it. He's trying to kind of get some kind of peace between the 2 of them, and Neil can't believe that he didn't expect 20 years either. Was I the only one? Now, if you're listening in the chat or if you are watching this after the fact, was I the only one who knew that it could be something really major and major jail time for killing 2 people, whether it was an accident or not? I don't think that's the question. I think everyone involved, maybe not Devon, but everyone else seems to understand it was an accident. Devon, I don't know that he actually thinks she did it on purpose. I think he's just really angry with her. But was anyone else questioning why all these people didn't realize it would be some serious jail time? Because Neil seemed just as surprised as Lily when they said up to 20 years. So we have some comments in the chat. We have War Hero 99. Devon, she's your sister. Clexandra says, oh, here we go. I think she's talking about Kane and Charlie. They both withheld information. They're just as guilty, if not more so, than Lily. Yeah, I agree with that, because here's the thing. Lily really didn't know. So when she talked to the police, she was telling them the truth. She didn't know. And in all fairness, we've all been there. You're in the middle of an argument. Maybe you shouldn't be driving. You're not going to know that you ran a red light. You should, but in that particular situation, you may not even realize what happened because you're so preoccupied. And even if you knew, even if you saw the red light, they have situations in criminal justice. They've explained it as, if you see a guy come in and do something, you might not even know what the guy looks like. You might not remember what he's wearing, even if it happened right in front of you, because it happened too fast. So the fact is, she didn't know what she did. So, and she's doing the right thing now. So, Clux Anvers, has Lily slapped Devon yet? Oh, no, she means Kane. Kane, I mean. Because I tell you, if she hasn't, I will. Kane is just making everyone worse for Lily. He should have never kept the truth from her because now Devon thinks she's been lying, which makes him think she did it on purpose. Now he honestly thinks fleeing the country is best. Okay, one thing. That is going to do nothing but delay the inevitable. And on top of that, it will only make Lily look even more guilty in both the eyes. And by the way, guys, when I saw that he was fleeing to Australia with American passports, the first thing I did was I went to Google and I found out if they have any kind of laws for bringing you back to the US if you flee to Australia and you have committed a crime. And guess what? They do. I think they're they have all kinds of laws. I don't know what Kane is doing. I don't know who's helping him. I don't know what his plan is. But yeah, you can't just flee to Australia from the US and go off and not, if they there are ways that they will, I don't know how it works. I just did a brief Google search, but yeah, you're not just going to go to Australia from the US if you have committed a murder. Even if it's an accident, it's still a murder in the eyes of the law. War Hero 99, this is hard for Neil. At least Ashley will be there for him. Yeah, that was great. I loved the return of Ashley. I'm worried, though, because the actress playing Ashley, it was the same thing as the actress playing Hillary. She may be leaving the show, too, because of contract issues. If anyone knows more about that, please feel free to share. Hubby Joe, it does not make sense that Devon thinks that Lily did it on purpose. Charlie was in the back seat and she was driving. Why would she do it on purpose and risk Charlie and herself? And Lily made that point too. So I don't know. I don't think I don't think he thinks she did it on purpose. I think he's so angry with her, one, because he needs to blame someone. Two, because he just thinks she shouldn't have been driving and that it was still her fault. Even if, whether she did it on purpose or not, it's still her fault, and he's blaming her because she was the one driving. So we have a couple other comments. Simone, of course Kane is thinking, run. This is a man who faked his death and made his wife think he was a ghost. That's a good point. Hubby Joe, hashtag hit Kane with a bus. No, sorry. Tiffany said, I propose a new hashtag hit Kane with a bus. Hubby Joe has seconded that hashtag. Okay, so moving along a little bit here, so that we don't run out of time. Why don't we do this? We have a little bit of time left to take some calls. So before we transition to the next topic, let me give that number out for anyone who is listening live. The number to call in is 424-253-0749. So if anyone wants to call in, we spent a lot of time talking about Devon. So as we wrap that topic up, feel free to call in, and then we're going to move on to something else before we get to our law moment. So let's see, with Kane and Lily and everything happening with that, I think the biggest thing for us to really mention at this point is that Lily had her arraignment, and they actually did, they're moving forward with, I think, a hearing because they do want to charge her. So Devon says that he plans on going to that hearing, I believe it is, and requesting that the judge give maximum sentence. So that's where they're leading into next week with that. And then we kind of end with this really nice scene. This is right before Kane decides that he's going to move the family to Australia. But we have this nice scene with Jack and Kane where, they had some drama like about a month ago. And now they sort of had this nice little talk where Jack says, I would do anything for my family. And then Kane makes the call, and then we see the passports. So we'll leave it on that with Kane and Devon. Let's touch a little bit on Sharon, Nick, and Dark Horse. There wasn't that much that happened with them. We had a lot with Sharon, where she wasn't sure she wanted to actually move to a new place. Nick's been acting very differently. I've never seen Nick this way. I've always seen him where, first of all, he wasn't a suits kind of guy to me. So if anyone knows of him being that way in the past, please feel free to let me know, but I've always known of him as the guy who owns the bar. He doesn't wear suits, and even when he didn't own the bar, he didn't wear suits. He just, kind of dressed he just wasn't like Victor. That's a good way to put it. But now he's really changing. He's got Dark Horse. He wants to move the family off the ranch, and Sharon's really torn with it, but Mariah kind of saw it Nick's way. She was like, well, he just doesn't want to be tethered to Victor, which makes sense. but it's still a lot to ask of Sharon without much of a negotiation, in my opinion. But Mariah made a really valid point with that. So one of the big storylines that happened too was when we had Nikki and Sharon. Nikki wanted Sharon to basically broker some kind of peace between Victor and Nick, and she kind of hoped that by doing this, I think she just used this as leverage once she found out that Nick wanted to move from the ranch. But Nikki basically told Sharon that, hey, if you do this, maybe he won't want to move. And Sharon basically said, no, I'm still not going to do that because he wants to move and I'm not going to stop him from doing what he wants. That's, I mean, I get it with Sharon, but I feel like she's not fighting hard enough for what she wants either. And I can just tell, no matter where they move, she's going to miss their home. We kind of ended with Nicki's MS flaring up again, which was kind of random, but Victor had said something to her earlier in the week about her going to a doctor and taking care of herself. So I feel like with that, they were trying to hint that it might be coming back, and they're going to do a little bit more with that, even though we haven't seen much with the MS lately. Okay, so the other big thing for us to discuss this week is everything happening with Billy, Phyllis, Summer, and Jack. Jack, I could tell from, I think it was the week before, that he was starting to fall for Phyllis again. And this week really touched on that a lot. So, your thoughts on not Victor. We'll talk about him another time. Your thoughts on Jack and Phyllis and everything going on with Kyle, and in the chat, what do you think? How do you think this is going to work out for everyone involved in this situation? Thanks for calling Restless Rap. Who do we have on the line?
Hi, Rachel. Brittany.
Hey, Brittany. So I was just about to jump into talking about Billy, Phyllis, Summer, and Kyle. What do you think is going to happen? So how do you feel? What do you feel is going to happen between Billy and Summer? Let's start with that, if anything.
I don't think Billy's gonna go down that road. I think it's more Summer, like trying to, to be the one to initiate it, and what else? What other couple were you saying?
So we had Billy and Phil and Summer. Why do you think Summer wants to get with Billy so badly?
I think it just to I don't know, to some sense bring attention to her to see if Billy would really if he would try to be with her or not. I don't think she really wants to be with him. I think it's just to see how strong her and his mom's relationship is in some sense.
Yeah. And I think part of what I'm thinking too is that Summer wants Billy because, I know she's telling Kyle it's because it would be no strings attached. I think Summer actually does have a crush on Billy, but I think it's not just the crush. I think that she wants Billy. It could have been any guy dating her mom. I think that right now she's just trying to manipulate everything. And it almost felt like not quite Hillary in the beginning of Hillary, but it kind of felt like now that Hillary's character is gone and she had been a nice Hillary leading up to her death. Now they want a new character who's manipulating the situations and trying to, yeah.
Summer fits it really well, yep.
Yeah, So now they've got her. What about that scene with Jack and Phyllis? What did you think about Phyllis's reaction when Jack told her that he wanted to get back with her?
I think with everything that has happened, I feel like it just hit Phyllis out of nowhere, and she didn't know how to react and how to feel about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And in some sense, she still kind of does still in some sense have feelings that are not that are not that are not just that are still there in some sense and that have not fully gone away. Now that ever since she's been with Billy, they're still there, but they just are not more I don't know. she doesn't know what she was just blindsided by it, and she doesn't know how to feel.
Yeah. That's exactly what it seemed to me, that she was just looking at him like
Mhm.
as a friend. And I think part of what hurt the situation was obviously Summer, because Jack was feeling a certain way. He wasn't going to act on it. But then Summer put ideas into his head, and Jack trusted her, because it sounds like Summer used to be different. So Jack was really trusting someone that he knew in the past, from when she was a little girl, maybe. And so Jack put himself out there sort of because of how Summer had made him believe was going on. And it was very touching to me how Jack was like, you think you hate someone, but deep down you love them, and you know you always have and you always will. So I thought that they were going in that direction with Phyllis and Jack, but yeah, I'm curious what they're gonna do with Billy. But thank you for calling in. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Well, yeah, I feel like they're just gonna continue on with that, and I can't wait to see what really does happen and who ends up with who.
Yeah, me too.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well, have a great weekend. We'll catch you next week.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, so let's touch a little more deeply on everything with with Kyle and Summer, and then we'll move on to the law movement. First, we have a couple comments. Simone, I understood where Kyle's anger came from. Jack did put business and a woman ahead of him, but I do not understand Summer's resentment. Hubby Joe, I'm starting to like Kyle more and more for how he is talking to Summer about the whole Billy, Jack, and Phyllis circle. So basically what happened this week was we had this situation where Summer is still hitting on Billy. She was walking around in a towel in front of him. As we went along with this, she's talking to Kyle a lot more and more. I mean, they always kind of were, but now Kyle's sort of like her confidant in a way. I mean, she kind of manipulates him too, to get information, but Kyle overheard a conversation that Summer had with Billy, and Summer ended up admitting to Kyle that she wants to get with Billy because there's no strings attached. I don't know that Summer really means that. I'm also curious what her last boyfriend did to her, because when she first came back, it was very obvious that someone had deeply hurt her, and that's why she's acting this way. So I still want Summer and Billy to get together, though. That's what I'm hoping for. But Summer keeps she was talking I want Summer to get with Kyle, if I didn't say that right. She keeps talking to Kyle. They end up kind of making a bet about whether Phyllis and Jack are going to get together. And so they arrange the situation where Jack ends up going to Phyllis's home, and he tries to kiss her, but then Phyllis pushes him away. And Kyle's watching this whole thing. Now, when he talked to Summer about it, he just played it off to Summer like nothing happened at all. So I don't know if he just figured that meant nothing was going to happen, or he just didn't want to tell Summer, or there could be a lot of things. But I think Kyle saw more than what he told her, because he was watching the footage live and Summer wasn't. So that doesn't work. It does kind of blow up in Summer's face because Jack says something to her, just to kind of stay out of his love life. Meanwhile, Summer does try. Phase 2 of this process was her trying to kiss Billy, and he pushed her away. So just nothing is working for her right now. And I'm going to be curious what happens with her, because she is definitely acting very manipulative, and it's going to... I just feel like right now she's in this place in her life where she doesn't want to actually connect with anyone because she doesn't want to get hurt. And that's why this is all because she's in a lot of pain and fear of what loving someone could do to her. So, and by the time she actually admits that, or realizes that she has feelings for Kyle, it's going to be like, the boy who cried wolf too many times. He's not going to believe it anymore. So we have a couple other comments, and then we'll get to our law moment. Tiffany says, I was going to say the whole Summer hitting on Billy thing just makes my skin crawl and my stomach churn. I am not about this in the slightest. Yeah, no, not me, at all. I do not want Summer to get with Billy. I'm worried. Billy has pushed her off again and again and again. I don't know that I could see him caving. it just wouldn't, to me, it wouldn't make sense. There'd have to be a lot of other things that happen first for him to be either really mad at Phyllis over something, but I just don't see him doing it unless some other really major things start to happen. But yeah, I don't see him doing it, and I feel like it's gonna eventually, Phyllis is gonna find out. Hopefully she finds out the right way. What I don't understand is why Billy is not going to Phyllis about this, why he didn't go to Phyllis about this. That's what's gonna bite him, because if Phyllis sees this happen the wrong way, she might assume that Billy was actually hooking up with her and not that he's been pushing her away. Like if she walked in, the way they, on the preview, not this week, but the week before, the way they showed that kiss with Billy, they made it look like he was willingly kissing her. When they showed it this week and they showed the full thing, it was obvious he was pushing her away. If Phyllis walked in on that kiss at the wrong moment, though, she would have seen it the way that they showed it the first time. So that's the point, is that he should really tell her what's going on. Okay, so on that note, let's get to our law moment. I had a couple of things. So the first one actually came pretty quickly. It was between Sharon and Mariah when they were discussing, I think it was, they said dress. I'm assuming they mean the dress for Mariah for Maid of Honor. They could have been talking about Sharon's bridal dress, though. I'm not sure. But basically, Sharon said to Mariah, "Are you saying you don't trust my taste?" And Mariah gave this very sarcastic no, like so obviously sarcastic that it was actually hilarious. Then, literally in the next scene, this is the other law moment of the week, we have Victor and Nikki, and they're just sitting around talking, and they're talking about Nick. So Nikki says to Victor, "I wish you and Nick didn't have to go to war." Victor's response, "Sweetheart, the term war implies two equals, not an unworthy adversary who doesn't have the power." As soon as he started saying the term war implies two equals, I was dying. That was hilarious. So, 2 law moments of the week. The next thing that I want to talk about really briefly is the predictions that I have.
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
So my first prediction was actually before we saw one of the very final scenes with Kane grabbing the passports. So the first prediction was Lily is going to get 20 years, but somehow she gets out early after they put her in there, or somehow in some soapy way they help her escape, or like something very soapy. But then we saw the scene with Kane grabbing the passport. So my new prediction is, if they even make it to Australia, I don't think they're going to, because I don't see that family leaving the show. I don't think they're going to make it to Australia. But if they do make it to Australia, someone's going to find them and bring them back, and then they will all be tried. I don't know about the kids, but Kane is going to get something, because, yeah, that just wouldn't look good. So that's my first prediction. The other prediction is I see Billy getting caught with Summer. I don't see him caving in on her, or caving in to her, to her charm. I'll put that in quotes. But I see him getting caught with her. Like it's gonna look bad, even if it's not actually what it looks like. And Phyllis is gonna maybe go back to Jack because of this. I'm also curious, like the other running storyline right now is what's happening with the guy, like because Kyle and Summer are trying to figure out who Phyllis slept with. They showed in the previews that she finds out it's Nick. So my prediction is Summer is going to try to use that as leverage, and maybe that's what's going to break up Phyllis and Billy, or I almost said Philly. And then the other thought I have too with the whole JT storyline, and 2 more predictions, and then we'll end for the day. 2 more predictions. The JT storyline, I feel like they should, I said this last week too, I'm going to say it again. I really want them to bring JT back, but we saw some random guy staring at JT's picture with the 4 women and Nick above. I guess because Nick was impersonating JT and all that jazz. So I feel like the Dark Horse is going to crash and burn because of this guy coming into Genoa City. And then the whole thing is going to blow up in all of their faces, and it's just waiting for that to happen. And then finally, I'm thinking that let's just go back to the whole thing with Phyllis for a second. If she doesn't end up, I think that it's going to come out that she slept with Nick, not just with Summer and Kyle, but with Sharon too. And that if she doesn't end up back with Nick, because I don't see that happening, that she's gonna, I see her getting back with Jack at some point. So those are my predictions. Let's see if we have any final comments for the day. War Hero 99. Okay. I think this explains something. Summer's last boyfriend, I think he's saying, kidnapped her. And yeah, that is the last comment we have for the day. So I'm Rachel Goodman. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Rach Goodman. We also have our Restless Rap page on Facebook. If you go to @RestlessRap, go over, like, follow. I always post the link to the show. If you leave comments there, I will also read it live on the air. So thank you guys for joining this week. We will see you next week.
In an era of online retail where everything is just a few clicks away, buying a car should be no different. That's why at Carvana.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.